When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you're in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex. So let's get to it. I got some important stuff to get to, a recap, and you got to hang in there. I want you to understand something, how all of the thing, music, hip hop, boxing, it all ties together. So I need you to just tap into your cultural minds with this reference. I spent the weekend looking for a very serious bout. What am I talking about? Dina Thorslund versus Siren Setin out of Turkey. This was the unified WBO and WBC Bantamweight division champion. We're going to get into that in a minute, that Bantamweight division. But this bout was so difficult to find. All right. Um, it wasn't available on the zone. And by the way, Thorslund won by unanimous decision. When I mentioned to you guys that Seton was way in over ahead with the level of competition, now I'm starting to think that Thorslund, all right, at first I said, okay, maybe travel visa issues. Now it's time to stop ducking your taco, Thorslund. You're over there in the Nordic country eating whale blubber. Shurretta Metcalf, she's been waiting for the title shot. Everybody else in the division has been ducking her. Why don't you be brave enough? Hell, I'm sure she'll travel to the Nordic land to come and get the straps. But why don't you come stateside and defend? It's time now. You cannot fight another overmatched opponent. I won't allow it. All right. So there's that. All right. Again, a very serious bout that with all of what's going on in the bantamweight division. Remember, Nina Hughes just lost her belts to Shanika Johnson. So that was an important bout. And some of you won't understand my passion, why I'm calling out Dina Thorslund. All right. But that's serious business, serious stuff. The other females boxing was maybe not so serious, but it turned out to be serious. Serious implications because of the visibility. This was easy to find. Live from Houston, Texas, it was Elle Brooke, a two-sport athlete, versus, I guess, a two-sport athlete of her own. Maybe not in the way that some of us are familiar with. I'm talking about Paige Van Zant. It was a very exciting bout to see, one combat fighter, one novice boxer, certainly give it a go. Was it more compelling than the whole bantamweight division title bouts and landscape? The seriousness of that? Is it? Maybe not, but this is the trick about women's boxing. And this is why I said use your cultural minds, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is public enemy. The Thursland match, championship titles, as serious as Chuck D. Yes, the rhythm, the rebel. But people don't appreciate Chuck D's lyricism. They don't appreciate it because it's like Chuck D, he's too militant, right? We kind of need a little bit of something fun, a little bit something offbeat, a little Flavor Flav. So why couldn't DAZN or someone, right? Because Misfits is DAZN anyway. Why couldn't DAZN have somehow found a way to do a two-site thing, or find a way to pick up both, or pair it somehow? You kind of put the seriousness of the rhythm, the rebel with Chuck D, with and I mean this respectfully, the jester, the court jester element of Flavor Flav, the entertainer value. So you got the serious bout. I mean, they're doing it with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson and then Taylor and Serrano, right? But why not an all women affair? You have a serious all women's bout that we need to see. And then you got something a little bit more entertaining, right? The big clock around the neck. 911's a joke, right? We get the dance, right? Um, I just think there's a better way to package some of this action, and it doesn't have to seem like they're such polar opposites. Going back to this analogy I'm running with, ladies and gentlemen, Chuck D and Flavor Flav exist in the same sphere. One is not too silly and the other's not too serious. They both can coexist. And can you imagine the music that we've had, the legacy that they've had, pairing the two together? If we could find a way to pair some of the more playful and entertaining women's boxing events, doesn't have to necessarily be Misfit, but if Misfits are already doing it, then let them supply some of those type of bouts and athletes. They got a belt, right, to offer. And then we can pair it with some of the more serious women's boxing offers with the championship bouts, all right? Because still, people are outraged that you don't have any sort of action from Riyadh this weekend, when perhaps this would have been the stage for, again, a serious bout that the fans need to see. But Who am I? Just a warden of women's boxing, continuing to ply my trade, and I'm hoping that you guys appreciate what I'm doing. All right. Talking about appreciation. I appreciate that. I believe her name is Ticey Gallagher out of the UK. Because I'm still on this recap. She won, I guess, the first ever British super welterweight division title after her win over Stevie Levy. So, salute, salute, salute. What's not, I guess, so appreciative, or who is not so appreciative? I'm talking about Tiara Brown. There's some things going on in the featherweight division, and I guess I'll start with Tiara Brown. Um, if you've been paying attention, then I may have already mentioned probably the subject of her ire. Um, Tiara Brown is a she's I want to say a veteran. I'm not sure if she was an Olympian, but she's been around in the featherweight division for quite some time. Many know her to be a pretty skilled fighter, but she just hasn't cracked the ceiling. And people have seen her, I guess, aligned or associated with or affiliated with some of the top names within women's boxing. Yet that relationship or that proximity hasn't trickled into any sort of fruitful ventures. I mean, one could imagine, I'm just saying it like this, if you were friendly with a fighter that was perhaps on the Jake Paul Mike Tyson card, right? And like Jake Paul did it for Amanda, and it's like each one pull the next one up. Maybe um there's a fighter besides Crystal Rosado that Amanda could pull up, and put on this card as well, but maybe that's not in her control. And like a lot of fighters, right? Maybe it's not in their control. So what is in, Tiara Brown's control is just to keep fighting, to keep trying to get as many credible fights against as many credible opponents, and stay ranked in the divisions. But boxing is truly a poor man or poor woman sport, so it's hard to um continue to ascend the ranks without the money. Like, let's just be honest. You need a money, you need a benefactor, you need a war chest, you need network resources, you need a way to keep your name buzzing, and to stay in the ring, and to not have to worry about the next opportunity or the next. And boxing just doesn't provide that for us. So I'm just hoping that in the featherweight division, because it's hot, Tiara Brown, I mean, because she's had her eyes set on but here's part of the problem, if I could be truthful. That's why you can't be nobody's little man. Because when you have your eyes set on Skye Nicholson, perhaps on behalf of someone else, that someone else will let you jump out there against Skye Nicholson. And when you like, yeah, we gonna get her, ain't we? You end up French, because ain't no we. It's just you by yourself. Okay, so you gotta be careful about being somebody's little man, because boxing is tricky like that. Serrano and Nicholson may never see each other or continue to use each other's name for whatever particular value, and you, Tiara, will be left in the lurch. So you got to kind of find your own lane and continue to establish yourself. Here's a name. Because here's a name who I brought up, Skye Nicholson, right? Degrees of separation. Karriss Artingstall, yes, out of the UK, my featherweight dark horse contender. She already has a win over Skye Nicholson in the amateurs, and as far as she's concerned, getting a win over her now will be probably that much easier. All right, and I'd like to see that. Will Nicholson defend? We like to think of Nicholson as but she's an Aussie. She ain't from the UK, these gals have crossed paths, but Artingstall is quite. And listen, respectfully, the Artingstall Price household are winners. Okay, so Nicholson may be trying to avoid the showdown with Artingstall. However, I'm just saying, Tiara Brown, I don't think Artingstall would turn down the smoke. I'm not trying to put or pit two fighters against each other, but that's what's happening in the featherweight division. And suppose anyone in the featherweight division is waiting to see what Amanda Serrano is going to do with those titles, or they're going to wait to see what Skye Nicholson's going to do with her title. maybe try to find a way. It'll take Tiara Brown. It'll give Tiara Brown an opportunity to get some exposure from the UK, perhaps, right? And Artingstall will continue to add to her already pretty good professional pedigree and again poised for see, and that's the thing. The winner of that bout, either one of them are poised for a title shot as far as I'm concerned. All right. So if you get Serrano vacating titles because they won't allow her to do the 12-by-3, eventually something will shake. But you got to keep it moving. Speaking of which, we're going to keep it moving out of the featherweight division, talking about 154 pounds. And I don't even like talking about this vision. I'm going to talk about the bout that's been announced. Mary Spencer out of Canada, 8-2. Her two losses back to back to Femke Hermans. She just had a win recently, kind of a bounce back win over an overmatched opponent that she brought up in weight. And I had been talking for many weeks at this point about a lady that I've nicknamed. I can't say I guess I don't want to take the credit for giving her the name, but I'm certainly running with the name. And I'm talking about the bronze bombshell herself, O'Shea Jones out of Toledo, Ohio. Shout out to my guy Treese out of Toledo, Ohio. Big Ohio in the building. And I'm wondering why you got Mary Spencer and April Hunter out of the UK, 7-1. This bout is in Montreal for it's like a WBA eliminator, pretty much a WBA gold title. And I'm wondering, why hasn't the bronze bombshell been afforded this opportunity? I don't know if she's looking for something at 147, but I'm telling you, she could take either one of these girls, in my opinion. So I don't know what's happening, but that Spencer Hunter bout is set for June 6th in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And should be pretty good. Pretty good. I want to see Femke Hermans back in action, to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why that's not happening, but I'd like to see her um get back in the ring. So maybe Hermans and O'Shea Jones. I know Jones is ready for a title shot. A little bit green, but I say go for it, go for it. Go for it. Pull a Sandy Ryan, right? Go for it. Once a week I gotta mention, honorary Ryan. A little bit more news. We don't have any action this week, but just talking about gearing up for the Paris Olympics boxing, women's boxing, of course, and Cuba is going to make a big play, I believe, this year. They have an interesting crop of contenders. Now we know about Cuba. They've always for years, and think of how small this place is. They have overall, I think they got 78 medals in boxing. 41 of them are gold. Picture that. And this year, I think they got 4 or 5 fighters throughout the middleweight and welterweight divisions. One of them is a former wrestler. One of them is a former Taekwondo artist, martial artist. And the rest of, I mean, and all of them have an extensive history in boxing. It's just that the opportunities had not presented itself on the island. I mean, they don't often for the men, so let alone for the women. And now they finally have an opportunity to do their thing. So I just want to list off some names just to give some recognition. Now we're talking about Coach Jorge Felix Noriega and also Coach Santiago Suarez. Some of the fighters include Legnis Gaya, Ariana Lamote, um, Julianette Mendez, Yankelin Estronel, and yeah, that's about it, man. So you just got to give some love to these fighters. And one thing about it, man, listen, I don't want to go into a whole backstory. You may find some of that in the video in here somewhere, but um Cuban boxing is in my blood. And specifically, a lot of people may be misconstrued. Don't let Miami confuse you, man. Most of Cuba looks like me. All right. So I'm very proud to see these women get this opportunity to shine on a national stage. And speaking of shining on a national stage, why don't you drop a like, share this video? Hell, even if you steal some of the information and bandy it about as though it is your own shit, I don't give a shit, because people are gonna know the eloquence. They're gonna say that sounds like King Amin of Essex. And I don't know whether whatever happens, happens. But um again, share this video, because women's boxing and boxing is our thing. It's this thing of ours, and we got to find a way to keep the lifeblood of it pure. All right. So no action this week, but we'll stay tuned for the 5-on-5. That's the men's action coming out of Riyadh. And anything else, we'll find out together. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.